Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Right now, it's the opening day of Canadian Music Week. We found a somewhat quiet corner here at the Sheraton Hotel.
Yes, luckily.
And with me, if you haven't recognized him already, Rick Barker. Extremely influential person of voice in the Canadian music industry with an incredible life story with full of ups and downs. Probably often the first thing that people know is former manager of Taylor Swift, which of course
want to get conversation starter. Yeah, that usually gets the ball rolling.
When you're connected to the biggest star in the world, it tends to grab people's attention. But of course, far more than that, consultant with Scott Borchetta and the folks over at Big Machine, also working on social media consulting with the contestants of American Idol, also involved, as we were just talking about before we started here, with the launch here in Canada, and co-author of the $150,000.
You've done your homework.
Man, this is a long resume you got.
It is. And then I just launched the Music Industry Blueprint podcast, which I'm having a blast with, quite honestly, because it's so easy to do. You can just I put the iPhone up in my car, turn on video, I drive to work, and then I talk to myself. And then I just take that, put it online, and it seems to work out all right.
Absolutely. And so you have an absolute boatload of insight to offer. But first, just to give some folks context for where you come from, because you're certainly not someone that was born with a silver spoon or raised in the music industry per se.
Right.
You've really done this through the School of Hard Knocks and through just an immense drive. So just to start off the conversation, I just want to give folks a little bit of background where you come from, Alabama, moved to California.
And once again, I'm impressed with the work that you've done. So my parents divorced when I was young. My mom ended up moving to Alabama, Muscle Shoals to be exact. There's a great documentary on Netflix about the Muscle Shoals music scene, and the guy that she was dating is featured and thanked at the end for being one of those folks that did that. So I grew up, I have divorced parents, mom married 5 times, dad married 5 times, went around to a lot of different schools. Never really had the patience or the understanding to play an instrument. That was never where I wanted to go, but I loved music. So DJing is what ultimately ended up being it for me. Had one of the first mobile DJ companies in Alabama. Ended up moving to California to live with my dad, got strung out on drugs, hooked on drugs. That's no secret of my story. I've been sober now a little over, just celebrated a 26th birthday in sobriety. But what happened was, as soon as I got sober, I went and got an internship at Kiss FM in Los Angeles, and then I found my home. Radio is what I wanted to do, did that for 15 years. And then as I started progressing through the radio ranks and went from being a morning guy to a program director, started meeting record company folks, I started asking a lot of interesting questions. I always tell people, not necessarily going to be the smartest guy in the room, but I'm going to ask the right questions, and then if I hear a problem, I'm going to try to solve it. And I created the Nashville to You radio tour, got artists paid, Sugarland, Little Big Town. Rodney Atkins went out, got on Scott Borchetta's radar. He ended up hiring me at Big Machine Records, and 6 months later from that, he sends me Taylor Swift, says teacher radio. She's getting ready to go out next. We spent 30 days together that kind of changed both of our lives. 6 months after that, her parents called and asked me to be her manager. And hell, I didn't even finish high school. I'd never managed an artist before. But one of the things that they said to me, which has just stuck with me to this day, is I said, why me? I'm not qualified. They said, 1, you believe in her. 2, you're not afraid to ask for help. A lot of times in life, we think that asking for help shows weakness, but it actually showed them it was a strength. Because there are too many people that pretend to know it all. And if you're the artist and you've got one of those people running your career, it could actually end your career. As a manager, I can get 100 careers. The artist gets 1. So you better put the right people on your team in the right place. So what most people saw as a weakness, they saw as a strength. And the rest kind of history. We spent almost 2 years together. My last year with her, I was gone 187 days. My daughter was 4, my son was 2. And I'm like, all right, God, what's the deal, man? I'm going to make more money than I've ever seen in my life, but at what is it going to be? Divorce. And I know what divorce does to kids. So I left, I gave my notice, told her I'd forever be grateful, didn't realize the street credibility that was about to come from walking away from a ship that was on the rise, but I didn't know any better.
Where was Taylor Swift at in her career at that point?
We call it 0 to 4 million. She was just getting ready to release her second record. She was just getting ready to start her own headlining tour at that point, and she hadn't crossed over to pop yet. She was still primarily in country. A couple songs had crossed over. Love Story, I think. But she was still inside the country music space.
Wow. Again, this is just picking up on your foray into management.
Yes.
You hadn't managed before. Taylor Swift's dad, like you were saying, asked you to manage. Just recently, I was watching an excellent interview. I think it was Complex did, actually, Chance the Rapper's manager. He was another guy, young guy. I think he was only 20 years old when Chance the Rapper's dad, too.
Loved his story. I watched the same story. Yeah.
And really great story and interview that was. And taking from that your own story, and that people that hadn't managed before, but somebody there, in the cases of you two, the artist's dad saw that there was something there that would make you a good manager. What lessons is there for artists when it comes to management and picking the right manager?
Right now, it's more the right manager will pick you. I think for an artist right now is that you need to assign positions. So my job every day, right now I manage Trent Harmon. I didn't want to get back into management, by the way, but I helped build him at American Idol. His management company went bankrupt. So this kid's in the middle. He's got a top 25 single and no manager. And all these things are coming his way. So the manager's job every day is to be the go-between to the artist. So the record company comes to me. The booking agency comes to me. His attorney sometimes comes to me. I'm to field these things and then bring them to the artist. So what you want to do right now is you want to find somebody who has these different skill sets, somebody who's organized. If that's not you, find someone who is. If you've got someone who first off, they need to believe in you. One, you need to trust them. Don't bring on a manager that's going to do nothing but kiss your butt. That could be the absolute worst thing for you. One of the things when Polestar asked Taylor why she chose me, she said, because not only is he going to show me the work that needs to be done, he's going to do the work with me. She had said she wanted a gold record. I said, great, let's go meet 500,000 people. Figured we could do that in a faster frame of mind because of MySpace. Find someone who, if they don't understand the business, make sure they at least have access to get to people who understand the business. That's why I started selling my programs. That's why I started creating programs, was to teach people everything that I knew, but make it affordable so that they could say, okay, for X amount of dollars, I can learn everything that Rick knows up to this point, and I can have access to them. First, they have to be passionate about you. Secondly, they have to be willing to continue to educate themselves. 3, figure out where you trust that they can make decisions on your behalf. Someone asked me a great question in an interview lately. It says, okay, so you're answering all these questions, you're making decisions. I said, look, if it comes to money and it's something that Trent and I are going to sit down and have that conversation together. If it's somebody that wants them to come play their 16th birthday party, I could probably make that decision on his behalf because at one point I was so nervous in the beginning, Michael, it's funny. I would come to Taylor with everything. She's like, what am I paying you for? You know what I like and you know what I don't like. If it makes us money and it makes sense, we're going to do it. If it doesn't, keep it away from me. I was so nervous, though, because I had never done it. And she taught me the best lesson. Why do I even have you if I'm going to make every single decision? Why do I have you? I'm like, yes, ma'am, you're absolutely correct.
You said, Taylor said, I want to have a gold record. You said,
Yes.
let's go out there and meet 500,000 people. You mentioned offhand the use of MySpace and that. If you had an art, not necessarily Taylor Swift, but
Any
again,
artist.
maybe as an artist of that potential,
Yeah.
what would you do differently in this day and age of the tools that now exist?
And here's what I want to say, because everyone will look and they'll go, well, Beyonce isn't tweeting every day, or Taylor Swift hasn't posted on Facebook. You're not Taylor Swift and you're not Beyonce. That's the first thing that I would say. And if they were starting today, we would, because what we have access to today that they did not when they started is we have direct access to the fans 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If there was only one social platform, if they said, Rick, you have to start over with only one social platform, it would be Facebook. And the reason that I say that, yes, because of the live video concept, the ability to laser target an audience. There's no restrictions on text. There's no restrictions on lengths of video. And Facebook remembers more about me than I remember about me. I get a memory every day and I'm like, crap, I was there. I don't remember that, but hey, there's proof. It's right there. But you have to use social media not as a marketing tool, but as an engagement tool, and you need to use it to get involved in as many conversations as you can without talking about yourself in the first part of that relationship, which is really hard for a lot of artists. It's usually vote for me, buy for me. Hey, I got a new record, and I'm like, hey, I don't know you yet. Hey, listen to my 3-minute and 35-second long video and tell me what you think. Hey, I just saw you for the first time today. We're not there in our relationship yet. So what I'm really doing is working with artists to tell a 15-second story. Then we take the people that watched at least 75% of that video, and we use Facebook targeting to share with them a 30-second story to get them to a minute story. And the reason that we're doing that is that in order for us to get paid today, with streaming, they have to have listened to 30 seconds on Spotify or Apple.
Oh, it's 30. I thought it was 20.
Nope, it's 30. And Vivo pays after 30 seconds on video. Yeah. So, and it could be down to 20, but last I checked it was 30. But the reason that we do the 75% of the audience is ultimately I want to find people that will watch at least 45 seconds or listen to at least 45 seconds, because then I know we got paid. Yeah. So I'm just training the audience at that point. I just recently got certified as a Facebook remarketing and retargeting expert. No, I'm serious. If that's where the people are at, absolutely. I needed to learn that. And it's like I didn't want to put at the mercy of somebody else. I didn't want to pay somebody because I knew I had to pay, but I didn't want to pay them and then not know. Yeah. Because no one can take my knowledge.
And Facebook is still where the music, because one of the common criticisms is that Facebook has become, for lack of a better term, an old person's platform. Is it still there for the audience of a new artist you're going for?
It is, and the reason for that is I always say the audience is where you tell them to go. So if you say, I can have a longer conversation and I'm going to play some music. The cool thing about Facebook right now, and they're just catching up, is that they're paying creatives. So for a while there, people would do a cover song, like Ed Sheeran had to go apologize to his fans because they were doing cover songs of his song, and then Universal was pulling them off. But it was his publishing company. Yeah. It's not the person who owned the master recording, because it wasn't the master recording, it was the person who owned the publishing. Yeah. And they're like, hey, if you want to use this, what the publishers didn't realize at the time is, hey, this is exposure for your artist. But the publisher's like, well, we don't make any money in touring. So it's like, because we all don't share in the same dollar, we're all arguing with each other, and it's at the artist is the one getting screwed in the end. It's like, well, I'm not getting paid, so they can't do this, and well, I didn't approve. It's like, it's total nonsense. But now with some of the new laws that are coming into effect, especially, in the United States, the songwriters will start getting paid better, and the publishers will start getting paid. Everybody wants to pay everyone.
Is that as a result of the Music Modernization Act, or is it something else you're referring to?
It's helping, yes, because what happened is that a songwriter in the United States, the government controls how much money you make. They determine your rate of pay. Yeah. What the heck? That's kind of outdated, and everybody wants to come to America. We don't give grants, people. We have Donald Trump. You stay here, take your government money. You get big enough, we'll come find you, I promise. We found Justin, we found Sean, we found The Weeknd, we'll find you. Everybody thinks it's just so much grander down there. No, it's more crowded. We got more people.
One of the very common topics that we encounter is, how do I make
Stay here right now. When you got it going on, we will find you, I promise. And Michael, when he knows you got it going on, he'll call me, and then I'll walk you into every label in town, I promise.
And sorry, I keep deviating from the conversation, but when you talk about
effect on people,
when you're talking Facebook's recent licensing deals, is that changing the formula?
It is. So what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that people get paid, that you're going to be able to go in. Because here's what my problem was: is I said, okay, Mr. Publisher guy, you just told them they violated it, and how do they not violate it? Mm-hmm. Because if I'm an artist and I said, okay, look, here's a license. Here, I'm going to pay you $100. And I get to do a cover song of Ed Sheeran. They're not going to make that $100 at the little parts of a penny. Yeah. But at least no one's out there trying to steal Ed's stuff. They're promoting Ed, promoting themselves. Mm-hmm. So then make a license available. Yeah. Well, they didn't know how to do that yet. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so you're going to go piss off the fans. Let's talk about what happened the last time you guys did that stuff. Remember Napster? Members trying to sue the fans? We've been through this before. It's like it's a repeat of a movie that didn't end real well for the music industry. Why are we doing it again? If I come to you and say, look, Michael, I would like to post something on my Facebook page. Here's $100 to cover the cost. You're like, cool. But give me a chance to at least pay you for your work. I'm not trying to steal from you. So YouTube does that. Mm-hmm. iTunes does that. The streaming companies do that. They pay royalties. Facebook wasn't paying anything, but now they're working that out.
Yeah. Speaking of YouTube, a very contentious platform within the music industry, and I've heard all variations of pros and cons about it. If you're, we keep bringing her up for obvious reasons, but if you're the Taylor Swift with 1 billion views or whatever it is, you're going to make a good dollar off of YouTube. But for an emerging artist, even an artist on an indie label, and again, Speaking to even indie label owners, I've heard very wide opinions on YouTube's usefulness to an emerging artist. What's your perspective on that as far as what role can and should YouTube play for an emerging
the
artist?
First thing you have to understand what YouTube is. It's a search engine. So if they're not searching for you, you're right. It's a waste of your time to be there. But if you are creating content that people are searching, so you got to remember this too. You need to be on these platforms because SEO, search engine optimization, some people are going, well, no, if someone wants to search in the name of the artist, then why do they need SEO? That's the second phase. Once they search, what's going to show up? So if you've got YouTube videos and you put the keywords and the descriptions in properly, that might pop up for you. If you're doing a cover song, I encourage people to do covers in their own style, but word it properly, because if I'm searching for Drake, God's Plan, and all of a sudden here's 5 different videos, I'm gonna, whoa, that's kind of cool. This one's got some views. It's like where Facebook and YouTube are underrated right now, and this is what I'm teaching the people that I work with and the labels that I consult, is the advertising platforms. It's very inexpensive real estate right now. So right now, YouTube, let's say that you're doing a Rascal Flatts. You got a great version of Rascal Flatts. You can do ads that show up before every Rascal Flatts video. You can tell YouTube, hey, it's Rick Barker. Have you checked out my copy of Rascal Flatts? By the way, you won't believe what happens. Check this out. I just say something and say, well, wait, what's this? Who's this? Do what? Click. They didn't hit skip. Yeah. I left them. I purposely do frantic stuff for people to go, what did he just say? You know, it's like there's strategies. But think about that. If you're going out on tour, like Trent Harmon is going out on tour with Rascal Flatts, a lot of these people don't know who he is. They didn't watch American Idol. Yeah. So I have pre-roll that is like, hey, it's Trent Harmon. By the way, excited to get on the road with the Rascal Flatts this summer. Look forward to meeting you. Click here to check out my new single, You Got 'Em All. Boom. Okay. They'll still get to the Rascal Flatts video, but those, you're paying pennies for those things because they have to watch a certain amount for you to even get charged, or they have to click to where you send them. Yeah. So if you do the strategy right, you don't get charged. Yeah. And there's ways to do that, but it's like we have to use these platforms for what they are. I'm a big fan of all of them because it's free real estate. It's like, here, Rick, you put your message out to the world and we'll cover the cost of running the back end. Thank you. Yeah.
Is YouTube solely, again, this is another conversation that always comes up at something like CMW, is just the fairness, I guess you could say, or ethics of YouTube's business platform, where it's not they don't pay per stream, they pay per ad action, and some people say it's a useful marketing tool, but it's a terrible platform for revenue generation.
Look, you are never going to make millions of dollars on YouTube ever again. Why? Because it's not the only video platform anymore. Yeah. The people, like musicians, shit, you're lucky if you get 100,000. Yeah, if you get 100,000 views now where you used to get 1 million. Yeah. Why? Because now Twitter has video, Facebook has video, Instagram has video. So those days are kind of gone. The thing is you building a relationship with someone is going to give them the opportunity to buy a hat, to buy a ticket. Chance the Rapper's not doing too bad giving his music away. Heck, iTunes paid him $500,000 to be allowed to give his music away before everyone else. Yeah. Think about that. But he sold a lot of those number 3 hats. Stop complaining. That's my anybody who is complaining about a platform that has 2 billion people saying, here, you could put your stuff up for free on our platform and we'll let other people see it and you can drive people to it here. Yeah. You don't know what it's like to run a business, and this is a business. Yeah. You know, if you go build YouTube, you go build Facebook, you go build Twitter, you can't. They're your PR firm. Let's not piss off our PR firm. You know, it's like, sure, they don't pay a lot, but you know what? I could go on. It's like, people want everything for free, and I'm tired of it. It's like, here's the musicians. The musicians, they don't want to play for free. They want everybody they feel needs to pay them. They don't want to put up anything online because they feel they need to get paid. But when it comes to getting education, they all want it for free. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, it's like, educate yourself. That's the key that everybody should do. Use the platforms for what they are. Yeah.
And to be fair, I guess a lot of the criticism comes less so, I should say, from artists and more so from publishers and labels who are seeing YouTube as taking away from Spotify and places that pay.
The reason that labels and them Look, there was a time you were charging us $20 frickin' for a CD for 2 songs. You screwed yourself. We didn't screw you. So now they used to split revenue of dollars. Now they're splitting it of percentages of pennies.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Stop it. Stop fighting people over these little percentages of pennies. If you're not happy with the platform, don't put your stuff on the platform. But stop complaining about it.
Yeah.
No one's forcing you to do that.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, but that's why 360 deals are important today. If you want to go that route with a label, everybody always complains about the 360 deals. Yeah. The bank needs to get paid. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The bank pays up all the money. That's the label, but they're the last ones in the business model to get paid. Mm-hmm. Then they're like, whoa, wait a minute. The publishers weren't complaining with the chart money from the radio success, but all of a sudden streaming came along and said, wait, we're going to pay the master recording person and the artist more. Yeah. And the publishers were like, whoa, wait a minute, what about us? Well, what about when you were getting all the money and the label didn't get money till the record was sold, and then we killed the record sales business? And now it's like we're trying to function in a dysfunctional business.
Speaking of radio, and of course, like you were saying, you started off as a radio guy. What role or what's the importance of radio still in breaking new artists?
I don't know if it's in breaking new artists because they only play what's already familiar.
Exactly.
So I don't think they're breaking anything. I'm pro radio. I'm pro label. I'm pro indie. I'm pro music business. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of that. So I just recently did a survey. I was teaching a class at Belmont, and I said, let me ask you guys a question. And I wrote radio, Facebook, Instagram. I said, how many of you, there were 17 people in the class, so we've got our numbers. I said, how many of you listened to radio today? The number was 3. How many of you were on your Facebook page today? 15. How many on Instagram? 17. So I circled 15 and 17. I said, here's what's interesting about Nashville, is all their attention is on the 3 people. I'm going over here, and this is what I've done. But then I asked a question. I said, of the 3 of you that said you listened to radio today, how many of you were listening between midnight and 6 a.m.? Nobody raised their hand. I said, that's where every song starts unless you're a superstar. And then it may or may not ever get out at night. So if I can take an artist, and I did this, I took the hook of my artist, Trent Harmon's song, did a 30-second version of it. I put it on Facebook. I targeted everybody who I created 2 interest groups. I created an interest group of everybody who was on the chart. And then I narrowed that even further and said, and must also match, which is the one button nobody really focuses on when running Facebook ads. We could have a whole other conversation on that. Okay. I'm a ninja. I love it. I put in the top 10 radio stations' Facebook pages, and I added Sirius and iHeart, created an audience of over 7 million people that I was able to spend $50 to go get his, because the whole idea is to get your songs heard, folks. You think it's to get played? Well, if it's being played in the middle of the night, you're screwed. I have to get it heard. I was getting 3-second, 4-second video views, 10-second video views, because when you do research at a radio station, they play 8 seconds. Yeah. I was getting 10-second video views for 0.003. So that's less than a penny to get somebody to hear my song, and it's a targeted person, the right person. Yeah. And they were able to know what his name was. Radio may not tell you that. So I'm a big fan of radio. I don't think radio will ever go away. I just think that they're doing what they need to do. People familiar. People still discover songs there, hopefully, but right now they're discovering it through Spotify. They're discovering it through friends still. Word of mouth is still the best way. So what I do is I try to say, okay, if your music is similar to this particular artist, but different enough where someone's going to go, oh, they're trying to copy this person. They're going to say, okay, they're not. I'm going to use Facebook, spend $10, and I'm going to go find more people than you will ever getting a song played one time on a radio station.
Speaking of whatever song it is you choose, I speak to so many artists who say that they're terrible judges of what should be a single and that kind of thing, and often say the song that becomes a hit single is not the one they would have chosen and that kind of thing. How should an artist best assess their own music?
They should do like Drake and put out a lot of music. He put out like 180 songs a couple years ago, but he had maybe 12 songs at radio because they move so fast. Let your fans decide what you want to do. If you have the ability for the singer-songwriters, do some acoustic, low-budget recording versions of them. Put them out with your fans and see which ones they start resonating with before you go in the studio and record it. Because if you go in the studio and you put all the money into this, then a lot of times you're asking complete strangers to buy into your vision. Be patient. Test. It's like car companies, any major brands, and you're a brand, they're going to test before they all of a sudden throw something out in the marketplace. You have the ability with socials to test it. So I would, and then see what their resonates, see what they're sharing. That's a big indicator, Michael, is when they share it, they're kind of telling their friends. It's like, okay, I'm okay with you guys knowing that I like this song or listen to this music.
That's interesting, because it kind of is counter to some stuff that I've heard of. Like, one of the dangers, I guess, to social media and just the absolute availability of distribution online is that for a young artist, they're too quick to be posting stuff, and because every artist goes through a stage where you write a lot of shit songs before you write, some good ones. And often the saying is, it's easier to get a first impression than it is to get a second impression if the first impression wasn't good. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like you're saying, just put it all out there and get some feedback.
Well, the thing is, too, is put it out, but don't run ads to it, you know, because people who've come into your world, they kind of trust you. What you could even do, and this is something that I think is even more important right now, is as you're building your fan base, start driving people to a private Facebook group that you control. Now you're building more community, and now you're able to share things in there that the rest of the world, and let it work its way out of there to the rest of the world. But, and you made a great point, you can only be judged by what's out there. Not every song needs to be out there. Not every song needs a video. Be patient. If you need to, there's very few people that are great vocalists, great songwriters, and great performers. There's not a lot. Somebody has, focus on what you're good at. Go get help in areas that you're not. If you're not a good singer, but you're a really good songwriter, get a demo singer to sing it for you. It's like these impressions. We're looking for reasons to check people off our list, folks. It's so freaking crowded out there. So those are the people that we're looking at.
And again, another thing we often are talking about in the magazine, there's a lot more ways to make a career as a musician and as a songwriter than being a big rock star. Essentially, what are some of the underappreciated ways to make a career as a musician? Like, say you have your
cruise ships.
That's a good one.
No, I'm serious. I just got off of a cruise. I met this guy. He signed a 6-month contract. He made about $180,000 signing these contracts, and then the other 6 months he goes and plays his original material. But he has to play covers all day. But every now and then he slips in his originals, and he always has discs with original as he meets these different folks. Yeah, cruise ships are a big way. Wedding bands are a big way. Jingle singers are a big way. It's like I always tell people this: if you can make $50,000 a year doing what you love, you make more than most teachers, a lot of nurses, and you're in the music business. For too long, we thought that unless it was on the radio or on MTV, depending on how old you are, then that wasn't that good. And then the internet came along, and we were like, crap, there's a lot of talented people that are out there.
Absolutely. Like times when I've been kind of sifting through profiles and songs on something like Reverb Nation, for instance, you know what? The vast majority of the songs are pretty good. You know what I mean? I guess by definition, most of it's going to be average.
A lot of it you can record on your home now. It's like there's no shortage of people to get this stuff out, you know, and that's the cool part. Another thing is I had a buddy, he tried forever to get signed. He also caddied at a golf course. So the guy, one of the rich guys, had the hot young wife, knew that he was a songwriter, said, would you write a song for my wife for our anniversary? So this guy went, wrote it. Guy gave him like $30,000. He signed over the copyrights to him. He does 10 of those a year now. Makes $300,000 a year. The guy will say, she loves purple, she loves this is Here We Met. You're a songwriter, you can write that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like $30,000, 10 of that's $300,000 a year. Gig. You guys can tell stories. It's like there's so many different opportunities. But just use social media, show up to work every day. Don't be afraid to suck for a little while. We're okay. We're not curing cancer. We'll survive if you don't get here. You know, go get punched in the face a couple times. So that's the problem with young people is they just say, I haven't been punched in the face enough. And a lot of them feel entitled. You know, there is no rush. You know, our most successful in country music, I'll say that right now, our most successful artists right now are males in their mid to late 30s and females in their later 20s. We're not a teenage audience. You know, unless you're Nickelodeon or Disney, there's really no rush. You should be getting the best education you can, building up your arsenal, become a better songwriter, better singer, better performer, and now you're ready to go out and attempt to compete. become a badass in your area first before trying to branch. Because if you can't win in your hometown, you can't win in the world. I'll just tell you that right now. I'll save you a boatload of money and a boatload of heartache. You've got to win where you are. If you want to be big online, then you've got the opportunity to do that. We look at the numbers and we look at the engagement. There's a lot of stuff that can be bought, but you can't buy shares and you can't buy comments. That's what we're looking for. Are you showing up for work every day, and are you doing the right things?
Again, focusing online, we've seen it. Lana Del Rey, for example, was an artist who broke online, had some great songs, gained a lot of traction online, and then when she started playing live, it was clear that she wasn't yet ready to be playing live. There's, of course,
That's happened a lot.
Of course,
for a
there's
lot
the
of people.
infamous SNL thing. But know what? She's actually become a great live artist in the years since.
Taylor came out when she was going through vocal changes. She was not a very good vocalist early on in her career. And what people didn't understand is females go through 3 vocal changes. Also, Taylor, she put out her songs so people already knew the words, even when she only had one song on radio. She never got to hear herself. We never really got to hear Taylor sing a concert. All you heard was the crowd. And then a Jay Leno performance, and you're like, whoa, she's not really the best vocalist in the world. And then, singing with Pink and Annie Lennox. It's like, come on, who did that? It's like, they're world-class vocalists, So, you've got to slow down.
Yeah. And I guess where I was going with that is just, again, when it comes to breaking out and that kind of stuff, or just building an emerging career, is live performance still what it used to be in importance?
For the true music fan, live performance will always be what it's supposed to be. But the thing is that right now there's tools. There's ways to get good at that. The thing that I think is even more important is don't get seen before you're ready, because we're looking for reasons to say no. And this happened with Carly Rae Jepsen. Had that one great song, and they had nothing to back it up. And then she had to disappear for a little while, and where's she been since then? Really nowhere. We had that situation with Danielle Bradbury, wins The Voice at 16, had never performed, gets the Brad Paisley tour, exposes the fact that she's not really a good performer. She never really got to learn who she was as a female and a writer, so she's 5 years later, now she's finally having her first single, and she's brilliant. She's a world-class vocalist, but nobody knew who she was. She hadn't been taught how to tell her story. Once again, we hear one song. Labels, if I had the money for every one-hit wonder, the labels have more failures than they have successes. If I had the money for everything they put into those failures just because they heard a song that they liked, one of the advices that I give people right now is fall in love with the jockey, not the horse. And what I mean by that is the music, the song is the horse. There's thousands of horses, but there's very few jockeys that can ride multiple horses to win the Kentucky Derby. But when you find that jockey that can, so vote on the jockey. Go invest in the jockey. The songs will come. We can't teach work ethic, we can't teach determination. Timing and luck are not duplicatable. So let's focus on the things that we can focus on. And when I put my time and energy into someone, I want to see that they're showing up to work every day, they're coachable, they're willing to bleed as much as I'm willing to bleed.
And before we started the interview, we were talking, you said, with your work on The Voice, what was it, like 9 out of 10 artists or something like that? You were saying didn't. Sorry, not The Voice, The Launch. My apologies.
So on The Launch, what happened is that I got brought in after these kids had been given this amazing opportunity. There were 12 contestants. 7 out of the 12 Canadian artists didn't even have a website. 8 of them hadn't used Twitter in almost 2 months.
Wow.
That's unacceptable.
And you're saying you've noticed a distinct difference between the U.S. artists and Canadian artists when it comes to this stuff?
Unfortunately, yes, and I say that respectfully, but what happens is people don't know what they don't know, because when I speak like here, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. It's because no one's teaching them. That's my job. That's why I'm reaching out to people like you. That's how I'm reaching out to SOCAN and Factor to say, look, you've got the artist. Let me come in and educate. I'll do free workshops. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that these kids know, because the opportunities that are being given, especially with The Launch, through Bell Media, Big Machine, and iHeart, that's life-changing. If you're not prepared for it, we have to prepare you better before the opportunity comes, not after the opportunity comes. So that's what my goal is. That's why I'm here. That's why I come back every year. I don't get paid to be here. And all the information that I give is to help better, but I gotta be able to reach more people to say, look, here's these great opportunities. Your government gives you money, for gosh sakes. Holy crap. We don't get that down there.
I hear that a lot from a lot of American delegates when they come here, especially come to CMW. They're like, "Oh my God, you guys support the arts."
Well, and the thing is that it's like marketing is not hiring a PR person, no offense to PR people, and it's not hiring a radio person, because when you have someone, you're competing against the majors, you're competing against the bigger artists by saying, hey, would you not play this person and play me? What do you bring? More than just your music, because we've got that. Is it an audience that's demanding your stuff? Are you playing a show and it's already sold out and you have to have a story. Just don't come to us with the music, come to us with the story. And don't be afraid to take the time to create the story.
Interesting. Again, in that, as far as a website, because I feel like
Yes.
with Facebook, social media,
Yes.
YouTube, all the talk these days is about that, and people forget the importance of having that central hub that is your website.
Well, the website's the only thing you own. You don't own. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg continued to piss people off and Facebook goes away, and that's the only way. You have to get them to your website because, one, here's technical, you can put a Facebook pixel on your website and go back and talk to the people who visited your website. You can't put a pixel on Facebook or Twitter. You're still at their mercy. And outside of your music and your name, your website's what you own. After that, it's your email addresses. But what happened was everyone was collecting email addresses. Nobody taught people how to do proper email marketing. So, of course you're going to burn people out and nobody else. I get real good open rates on my emails because I don't bombard people. I give them something of value. So that's what I teach. I teach people how to build, monetize, and engage their fan bases. You guys can create it. I'm not on the creative side. You make it, I'll teach you how to get rid of it, and I'll teach you how to get paid for it. That's what I focus on.
And as we get near the end here, and this is probably something, would have been a good way of starting off actually, but and this is fairly broad, but I've seen you say this is the best time ever to be in the music industry. A lot of people beg to differ, particularly when it comes to revenue and such. What gives you that faith?
Well, the people who are bitching about the revenue are the people that don't know how to make money. The people who do know how to make money aren't bitching about it. Here's the thing. There was a time when the labels controlled the relationships with the record company. They had the bigger wallets. It was very expensive to record. They controlled the distribution. If you wanted it in the stores or on the air, that's where you had to go. That's not the case anymore. It was very expensive to market. You needed to hire a very expensive PR firm. It was very expensive to record video. That's not the way it is anymore. Today, you can wake up in the morning. You got your own videographer, your own photographer, your own recording studio, your own bank, and your own PR firm right here in the palm of your hand. That's why it's the best time ever to be in the music business. The music business isn't for everyone. You know, that's the thing. It's like your rewards are not in direct proportion to the work that you put in, and that's hard for some people. There is no shortcut magic formula. You can't buy your way in. If it could be bought, we would have 1,000 Taylor Swifts. There's no shortage of daddies with pretty daughters who have talent. Everybody thought that was the magic formula. That's not it at all. Timing and luck, like I said, are not duplicatable. But right now, if you're truly in the music industry and business for the right reasons, because you want your music to affect people on a worldwide basis, that's why I say right now is the best time ever to be in the music business.
How important is, and forget your affiliation with Big Machine for a second, how important is a label versus starting your own label?
I would stay as independent as long as you possibly can, so that if you just get hired by a label, you're an employee.
Yeah.
If you start your business already, we're looking for small businesses to invest in, and when you're a partner, you make a much bigger relationship. Here's the thing, the record label is the right route for the right artist, but the record label today does not have the time, the resources, or the funding to start the fire, but they sure the hell could throw gasoline on it. So go out and start your own fire.
And if you do that, and then you later decide to approach a label, you have a whole lot more leverage.
Exactly. It's easier to jump on a ball that's already moving. Florida Georgia Line is a perfect example. They went out on their own, got turned down by every label, put a song up on iTunes, Sirius Satellite Radio, caught wind of it, ended up selling 100,000 downloads, and then every label that said no was tripping on themselves to sign these guys. The music didn't change, the production didn't change, the perception is what changed. They signed with a major label, Big Machine. We're next thing you know, they're selling 1 million, 3 million. Nelly comes in, they sell the biggest selling song in the history of country radio and country music, and they were told no by everybody before that.
For those lucky few that do have labels approaching them, putting on your manager's hat now, essentially, what are the red flags artists should be looking for in those negotiations, as far as in their contracts or what the labels are asking of them?
If you can, try to get a guaranteed must-released first single by X amount of time. Really try for that. If they're going to participate, you will be asked for participation. One of the things that I like to do, and what that means is that's the 360 deal now, that's what they're calling it, is participation and other revenue. Try to set yourself like a benchmark that says you can't participate after $300,000. After the first $500,000 stays with the artist, label can participate on the back end and make sure that they can help facilitate in certain areas. If they're going to participate in the touring, then you go to them and ask for tour support if you need it. If they're going to participate in the merchandise, make sure that you're using their graphics department when needed. Just make sure that they can fulfill in the areas that they want to participate in.
Well, Rick, this has been immensely interesting and helpful and informative. I really appreciate you making the time for this. It's been a great pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.